So, Jonathan, we are here because we are doing a webinar, and it's for people who want to buy a home, and they think that their credit disqualifies them, and you're here to let them know not necessarily. You can still buy a home even if you think you have this bad credit. Can you introduce yourself and let us know who you are and how you're qualified, basically, to let them know, because you're not a real estate agent, you are a mortgage lender, right?
Correct. Yes. My name is Jonathan Peacock. I'm a loan originator here at Guild Mortgage. I've been in the business, like I said, about 5 years. Actually had the anniversary of 5 years about a month ago. We can do all kinds of home financing needs, whether you're a first-time home buyer, looking for your second home, an investment property, you need to refinance. That's our job, to walk you through it, what it takes, what's the best fit for you, and make sure you're comfortable with everything. And getting you there is a big part. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
That's really awesome. Okay, so and again, I have my questions here. I'm going to ask from them, but I said you're a lender and not a broker. Can you tell us the difference for people that don't know the difference between a lender and a broker?
Yeah, sure. So the big difference is a lender is the one who actually lends you money. Okay. A broker doesn't actually lend their own money. They search for a lender for you. Okay. And so what we'll do is, as a direct lender, is, the products and the money that's coming is coming from Guild. Okay. And we're also a service retained company, which means most of our core products, we're not going to sell off to another bank. You'll be making your payments to us. And, we like to say we'll be your lender for life. If you ever have a problem or a question, you can give us a call. Again, a broker is someone that would go find a lender. Either they have access to a bunch of them, or they have, some sort of, partnership with other lenders. They go and find the best product for you through them. So basically it's more direct as a lender.
Oh, okay, wow, that's wonderful. So you're not dealing with the middleman when they're dealing with you. You are dealing with the person.
Correct.
So when you say yes, it's really yes. It's not yes, but I have to find a lender. That sounds awesome.
Correct.
Okay. Now, can you tell us, what's the advantages of buying a home? A lot of people rent. Why not just rent forever?
Yeah, there is benefits to both. Renting, mostly the benefit is if you're not ready to buy. There's a lot of advantages to owning your own home. The biggest one is building equity. You're not paying your landlord's mortgage, you're paying your own. That equity builds for you. It's an investment. Okay, it's an asset that can appreciate just like anything else. And a lot of times real estate can be one of the better investments. You'll notice rents going up, okay, especially in times like now. Your mortgage payment is a fixed payment, okay? So the only thing that's really going to change is your taxes and maybe your insurance over time, and then that might fluctuate your payment a little bit. But your landlord can't come in, because you are your own landlord, can't come in and say, okay, rent is now $1,200 instead of $1,000 this year. Deal with it. So that's the certainty that your payment will stay relatively the same. And it's your own space. It's your own home. You can do what you want. You don't need to rely on your landlord or someone coming in to fix things, changing things you don't want, stuff of that nature. So, if you're ready for it and you can handle it, owning your own home has a lot of advantages.
Yeah, I think so. I want to chime in on that, because as a real estate agent and somebody that's been into properties for years, the home is yours. Nobody's going to come and say, get out. A lot of people, they feel afraid of things like foreclosure or not handling it. But there's a lot of things you can do to make sure you're not in that position. And if you were renting, you would still be in a position not to pay for a space where you have more flexibility, more leverage with your own home, as opposed to somebody that can say, hey, my aunt's coming, you have to leave, or, we're selling, or something like that. And you touch on equity. I want you to speak a little bit more about equity. I think a lot of people they know the word, it's a buzzword, but they don't know the value of what that really means. Can you let them know what is equity and what does it mean to an individual?
Yeah. So, without it being Webster's dictionary definition, equity is what the percentage of the home that you own. Okay. So say, let's use flat numbers. The home is worth $100,000 when you buy it. You put $10,000 down. Okay. You own $10,000 of that home. and I guess the bank would own the other part. But when you go to sell it, okay, say you sold it right at that flat rate of, $100,000 again, and that wouldn't really make sense, but you get that $10,000, proceeds, right? Or, that's what you own in the home. It's still yours. So when you're paying and making your mortgage payments, like you would rent, instead of the rent going to someone else and not working for you at all, say your first part of the amortization period, there's a portion, the principal is a little bit smaller, but say, every month that you make the payment, $400 more goes into your equity. So if you make, 10 payments, that's $4,000 more in equity that would be yours. Say that you go to sell the home or anything like that. So it's basically a good way to think about it as your own kind of savings account within your home. Okay. The money that you're spending on it is going back to you.
Right.
All right. And the vice versa, that is the home, it's not always guaranteed, but over history will appreciate. And not only will it appreciate on your initial investment of the 10,000, but it's also what the debt was called, what it's referred to as good debt. So say the home goes from $100,000 to $120,000 as the appraised value. Not only do you get your 10 grand back, but you get, you own that 20 grand that is appreciated as well. So that's kind of how equity works for you, as opposed to just paying rent month in, month out to somebody else.
Right. So a home is investment. It does pay you back as long as you stay on the track, everything being equal. It does pay you back. And even some people that had to force to sell, they actually usually do come away with something unless it's an upside down strange situation. So equity is important. We're talking about starting to build generational wealth. We're starting to talk about paying ourselves as opposed to a landlord, because that's why landlords have tenants, to pay their equity. That's the whole point.
Their mortgage.
Their money, and you could just make yourself money. And a lot of people also believe that there are not affordable homes. I see in the market there are. Prices are going up right now. There's a time, going, but there are still affordable homes and people can get in. And we want to get back into the credit situation, because the two things that get people the most are credit and not having enough money to buy the home. I feel like that's the two things that I hear all the time. My credit's no good. I don't have the money to buy the home. Let's talk about credit. If someone's credit wasn't great, let's say somebody told me exactly this the other day. There's no way I can buy a home. My credit is 590. I really want to, but I'm pretty much like I ruined myself. According to her, no bankruptcies, no anything like that. But she feels like it will never happen for her at 590. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, so if, when someone, like for her specific situation, I think we should talk, because, actually they just dropped minimum credit score requirements from the COVID area. They raised it up to 600, at least for us. And they just recently dropped it down to, I think, some as low as 540. Now, getting approved down that low is tough. Okay. And pricing's not great. You're still your better option. And maybe the option you still need to do is to get your score up. Same is still true for under 600. If she's that close, most likely there's something pretty fixable that we can get in there and look at. And it wouldn't take too much time or relatively too much money to at least, get it over the 600, over 620 mark, and we can really do something. And I think it's just like the credit, same thing with the down payment too. Until you know what you're actually facing and what you're looking at, you're kind of just putting yourself in that box of I can't do it. And in reality, if you talk to somebody and I was able to tell you, well, yeah, just pay down, X card, and your score should pop up. And then you'll be able to do something. Now you have a plan. Now you can work towards doing that. And it's usually not as far off as you think. She's actually probably very close.
Yeah, definitely. And she needs to speak to you. I'm going to refer her to you. When you say it's not hard to fix, like literally how easy is it? Can her score go up in 1 month? Like, how can that work? Let's just make up a scenario.
So how easy or how difficult it is really on a case-by-case basis, okay? Now, you can have someone that all it's going to take is pay your credit cards down to below 10% usage. And yeah, by the next time they report to the bureaus, they should pop up. Or they need to open an authorized user account with somebody that has a low balance on their credit card. Boom, scores pop up. It can get more difficult if you have large collections, real, lingering derogatory debt, something you're behind on. That might take more work, okay? But either way, or more money, but either way, it's come down to getting a plan. And in both scenarios, really the thing about rebuilding credit is, it's not the difficulty of it, it's the time, okay? It usually won't fix itself if it's, depending on how bad it is or where it is. I don't want to say bad, but it could take a little more time, but time is your friend in rebuilding credit. It really is. If I tell you to pay down your cards and it's just something minor like that, and they should pop up to over the 620 that we need, if you waited and used those cards at 10% usage for 3 or 4 months, your score will be higher. Okay. All things equal. So, time is always your friend there. It's not really about the difficulty. It's about how quickly it can be done. And that sometimes I think hangs people up, but still it's, if it's your goal, sometimes it's what it takes. So how difficult it is a case by case thing for sure.
Okay. That makes sense. And, I had somebody that the score it wasn't going up. It was pretty bad almost every month. And I pointed out to them, they will pay their bill in full. Or they pointed out to me, I pay my credit card bill in full. That doesn't work. My score doesn't go up. Well, that's impossible. I looked at it with her, and she would pay everything on the first, and then go back to this regular spending. There'd be an automatic something coming out on the second and the third. So I told her, when it reports your credit card, it's reporting it low. It reports it on the 5th or the 6th. You're spending it again,
right,
half of it or more before it gets reported. So a little thing that people need to know is when you do pay up your credit card because you want to report it well, don't spend it again. Don't have anything automatically coming out until after it's reported. It needs to be reported first. What's going to report low. So that's a little thing I see a lot of people do. They're right, good, and they're doing things they don't know, like just using the money or having something automatically come out on the first or the second, and their payment is useless. It doesn't really look like they did anything special before the balance got reported. So that's, one of the ways I know
right,
it's definitely factual when you say sometimes it's not that hard and it's a case-by-case basis. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to be looking at my phone for my questions, hoping it doesn't die. Oh, okay. So the loan products you have. Tell us a little bit about the loan products that you have, and what are the best ones for a first-time home buyer?
So we pretty much carry anything that you would think out there. All right. I'm going to focus on the 4 main ones, or the ones we see the most. You have your conventional loans. The thing about conventional loans are they're going to be tailored towards people with higher credit scores. Okay. And the reason for that is the interest rates have big adjustments for credit, pretty much in increments of 20. Pricing's better at 720 than it is at 700, better than 680. And your mortgage insurance also fluctuates with your credit score. So if you have a 740, a 760, I'm going to take you conventional, most likely, because it's going to be cheaper than an FHA loan, which we'll get to next. You can get as little as the down payment could be as little as 5%, even 3% on certain programs that we have available. There are income limits to them. So if you have great credit, but maybe you're just starting out, or your income is below the 80% median for the county or wherever you're trying to buy, we can get you one of those programs, and you only have to put 3% down. Those are really good programs for first-time home buyers. You don't necessarily have to be one anymore. You used to. Now you can own a home and still use it. FHA, the minimum credit or minimum down payment is 3.5%. Okay. This is good for people that have kind of just medium credit, or their credit's kind of on the border, because they don't have the same credit adjustments that for interest rate that conventional has. You usually have to drop below 640 and then 620 to really get the big adjustments. And the mortgage insurance there's an upfront mortgage insurance that's rolled into the loan. And then there is a monthly mortgage insurance, and that's all the same. Okay. No matter what your credit score is, that mortgage insurance is going to stay the same. So if your score is a 660, okay, compared to a 760, like your score is a 660, your payment's probably going to be lower. The loan's probably going to be better at FHA. We usually say anything 680 to 700 is when we start thinking about, okay, are we going to flip it to FHA now for the lower payment, the better loan? And then if you had a 760, conventional, probably a lower payment, because you're going to get the better adjustment for the mortgage insurance. That's a good one for first-time home buyers, because it does have a little, the smaller down or minimum down payment, 3.5%. Credit, same thing. A lot of times first-time home buyers, like you said, they're kind of floating in limbo about where their credit is, so they don't know what to do to improve it. So they come in and try. They might be around that middle score. So that's a good one for first-time home buyers. VA, we're full in with VA. That you have to be a veteran or active duty to use, or in the National Guard for a certain amount of time. To be honest, if you are a veteran, you should probably use your VA eligibility if you can. There are most scenarios it's going to be best for you. Some scenarios not, but it's rare cases when you have a lot of money to put down, and just so happens that the rates have flipped on themselves a little bit to where it might be better go conventional, or eligibility is run its course a little bit. And then USDA, rural housing, that is only eligible for certain areas. Basically, they're trying to facilitate those funds to places that aren't deemed urban, I guess, so rural. The map in South Carolina is kind of spotty where they are. You would think you'd be in a city and still be USDA eligible. So there's you can Google USDA eligibility map. First one, click it. You can type in the address if you're searching and you want to know. The good thing about those two is they are 100% financing. So you don't have to put anything down. It saves a lot of money out of pocket. Okay. And all of those can be attached to South Carolina state housing, the down payment assistance programs, which I was going to get into a little bit more later, I think. But briefly, the minimum credit score requirement for SC state housing for the down payment assistance program is 620. This year it was an $8,000 grant. Okay. They can change it. It goes a little bit, but so it's an $8,000 grant that can go towards your down payment and your closing costs. So for example, if you were buying a $100,000 home and were doing an FHA state housing, you need a 3.5% down payment. That's $3,500. So now that means your grant covers that, and that leaves you with $4,500. Check my math. With $4,500 left to help cover the closing cost. I'll get into a little bit more with state housing later on, but because there's some things of why you may or may not use it, and there are some pros and cons to it, but we can get into that a little bit down there.
That sounds awesome. And so you have the two programs that can be eligible for no money down. I want to touch a little bit on the USDA. So what you're saying basically is somebody can be maybe, depending on the map, I'll have to check the map, but in Elgin, and where it's rural, it's not city, and just have to drive to work in Pontiac, and they're only 15 minutes from work maybe, but maybe that house qualifies for USDA because they want that land developed.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in Elgin, it probably is.
That's really
to be honest.
So
some in Elgin aren't, but
right, yeah. But, that's great information. So people, if you're listening, you probably should reach out to Jonathan, because there are loan products you may not know about, you're not that familiar with, you don't know the intricacies, and he can find, one of the best ones for you. My specialty is real estate, not mortgages. So I go to the mortgage specialist to ask my questions. You can also ask them directly, obviously. If somebody doesn't say to me, Nikki, I want a USDA loan, or I'm trying to get a USDA loan, I wouldn't have known to tell them USDA loan information. It's not something I'm that familiar with. So that's why it's important, guys, that you speak to the specialist that you're working with and ask them to explain what they have to offer. I can tell you everything you need to know about real estate, hands down. When it comes to financing that real estate, Jonathan's going to be able to tell you everything you need to know in that regard. So that was good.
And vice versa. That's why I always say home values, negotiating, things like that. Talk to Nikki. Okay.
Right.
That's their area of expertise.
I love that. Okay, so we do want to touch on those programs a little bit more. But before we do that, I just want to see if I got all my questions out because I don't want to miss them. Okay, I think you answered all the questions I had for you. You mentioned this program where people can get $8,000 this year. They can go one way or the other. Exactly how does somebody do that? They come to you, they have the 620, or they need to tweak just a tiny bit to get to the 620. Can we talk about the requirements of that and how possible is it? How many people can get it? Is it only a tiny little bit every year? How does that work?
So for the regular one, the regular program that they have a couple different ones. But for the regular one, it's all year round. And since we are a direct lender with them, we would just be like me setting up a regular loan. Okay. I would just add on the second lien, which is the down payment assistance, and you go from there. Okay. I would look basically when I take your application, I look at all your options and see which is going to be the best fit. If I feel like, if we feel like state housing is, that's something you want to look into, I'll start going through, the checklist of, do we meet the requirements? Okay. And there are some requirements. 620 minimum credit score is one. Okay. There is a household income limit. All right. So the loan is forgivable for 10 and 20 years. Okay. Basically, that means if you are under, and this is going to be rough because it changes county to county, but for Richland, Lexington, if you're under 57,700 household income, then you have to be in the home for 10 years as your primary residence, or you have to pay the loan back. Okay. And it goes up like 72. And then if you have more than 3 people in your house, or 3 or more people in your house, goes up to 83. If you're above 50, that 57, 58K mark, but below that, you can do it for 20 years. It's a thing where, they're like, oh, I don't want to pay the down payment assistance back, which I understand. But a lot of the times, if you're going to be in the home, most first time home buyers are statistically in their home 5 to 7 years. Okay. Even if you are on the bottom end of that, you're 5 years and hopefully the house appreciates enough. I mean, it's not like you're pulling that $8,000 back out of your pocket and handing it over. You would pay, it gets rolled into the payoff of what would be you selling your home. Okay. So it's not too detrimental, but it is something you got to be aware of, that if you're not in that home for those extended period of times, you have to pay it back. If you know that you're probably going to be in the home just for a little bit, it might not be worth it, because you're going to be turning around and paying it right back. But if you need the funds to help close the gap on money out of pocket, it's definitely a great option. Okay. They control the interest rate. I have no control over what the interest rate will be. No lender does. They control that. And there are extra fees that come with it. They have charged a 1% origination fee, which is an origination fee, or a discount point origination fee would be a percentage of the loan amount. So, if your loan amount's $100,000, that's $1,000 they're charging you. And then that $400 investor review. And that is pretty much the only thing on the buyer's side that I would say are kind of potential obstacles for it. The other thing is there's certain things with the property you're purchasing. A lot of things cosmetically or something like that would have to be done or, fixed by the seller prior to them buying it, or closing. But those are the things that you got to be aware of. But all in all, it's a low interest rate. You get $8,000 to help cover closing costs, down payment. If you're in that price range to 100, 150,000, it's a really good loan. It's still worth it. In some instances higher, but just the origination fee is based on the loan amount. So the higher you go, the more they're going to kind of chip away into it. So it's going to be a little more money out of your pocket, but it's a great loan, and it's a great way to cover that gap if you have one from down payment, closing costs, money in pocket. This market, it's tough to get seller to pay closing costs. Okay, hopefully that's the market will turn over and change a little bit, but so that can kind of help step in and do it. We also I don't do personally as much of them or see as much of them. We are able to use any of the county down payment assistance or grant programs that they have, Lexington, Richland, stuff like that. So if you're familiar with them, you basically take a class with them. We can pre-qualify you, and then we attach that onto the loan. So we're able to do that as well. And those are kind of just options that you have to cover that gap if you don't have, the 5% down or 3.5% down plus closing costs. There are ways that we can whittle it down.
That's amazing. So, guys, you have to get in touch with Jonathan. He has more than one program, whether it's mortgages or down payment assistance, or he can help you, take a look at your credit to fix it to be a homeowner. I personally believe everybody should own a home. I know it is important for generational wealth, for security, for peace of mind, really. When you own something, you have more invested in that something, and a lot of times that something comes back to bless you. I personally believe that. There are a few situations where people should rent, obviously, but for the most part, home ownership is important. I think what hurts me is when people want to, but they think they can't. This is not, nobody talks to anybody into buying a home. That's not a real scenario. That doesn't exist. It's always somebody that wants to buy one and they feel like they can't and they don't qualify. So what you offer is great. I love it. I'd love to please, I'm going to ask you one more question, but just to put it out there, I'd like you to put your name, your email address, your number in the chat, and then we'll get it out on Facebook, and then we will run this where people can see the recording and people can get in touch with you. So just to let you know.
Yeah, awesome.
But there was something, let me see if I can find it because it was kind of important, and I don't know why I'm not seeing it in my notes. You know what? While I'm looking for it, I saw another question. I didn't realize I passed it. Can you look at somebody's credit report and tell them fix this, that, and this will raise your score? Is it that easy?
Yeah, a lot of times it can be. So not only doing this for a while, I can just look at a report and sometimes I can tell you exactly what's the problem. Okay. Do I always have the immediate solution in my head? No, but we do have tools within Informative Research, which is who does our credit reports, the third party company that allows us to do what if scenarios, run credit analysis, stuff like that. I can do things like, okay, if he pays down this and this to this percentage, what does the score do and how much time? It gives me a lot of information. I mean, we can dive in and really look at what's going to happen if you do this, how much time will it take, how much money it will take. And it helps really set a game plan. And it's not, credit's a tricky thing. Okay. Because the problem with it is, you wait, you have a plan, you're just 2 months that you're doing everything you need to do. And then all of a sudden something else pops up that you weren't aware of, another collection, something down the road. So it's not always 100% guaranteed, but for the most part, we know exactly what it's going to take to get you to a general score area. And we're able to expedite those things if we need to, stuff like that. And if I can't, if a lot of the times we'll still say, well, your scores pop up, and then on the bottom it will say, you know, plus 35. That means I know that's triggering me to know that theoretically there is a room for 35 points of improvement right now. Okay. So I go in there and look at it, and, you know, maybe that is something that we can do. We can get it done right there. You know, you can go make an offer on your home here pretty shortly. At the same token, I can go and look into it and say, oh, what happens in 2 months? What happens in 3 months? And, you know, a lot of the times, like I said before, time's your friend when you're repairing credit. You'll see those scores pop up just by doing the same things, having those negative derogatory things off your credit for longer. And sometimes that's all it takes. It's just a little time with those things off, giving it time to rebuild. Another thing I did want to mention is credit is a double-edged sword. It can hurt and help, especially credit cards, debt. If you get a credit card and you run up the max out the balance and you're 30 days late on it, stuff like that, it's going to dive your scores. Okay. But at the same token, if you just, you know, if some bad things have happened in the past, and so you just kind of said, no, not doing debt, not doing the whole borrowing money thing. No, I understand. But the problem with it is they treat not having revolving credit working the way they want to see you use it just as badly as maxing it out. Okay. So you need to make sure you have revolving credit. If you're looking to buy a home soon, you're thinking about it, go get a secured card, go get a credit card. Don't treat it as income. Don't treat it as extra money. Use 10%, fill up your gas tank, 10% of the limit. So if your limit's $500 on the card, use $50 every month, and right before the due date, pay it off. Right. Okay. That way the bureaus report twice a month. That way they see it. $50, 10% used twice a month. You pay it. Right. It starts over. Okay. So without that revolving credit, you really don't stand a chance of gaining those points back from past derogatory things. I would say like 90% of the time, I'm telling somebody to either pay down revolving debt or open revolving debt when we talk about rebuilding their credit.
Wow. Okay. That is awesome. That's great advice. And I think a lot of people need to know that. I found the question, and I'm very glad because it's such an important one. One person I spoke to, they got turned down by a bank. And they said it's the end all be all. They can't ask anybody else. They were turned down. Nothing they can do. How true is that? What should somebody do if Chase or USAA turn them down for mortgage, or anybody else turn them down for mortgage? Are they done? Are they going to ruin their credit? Checking, calling you? What should they do in that case?
No, and I'm actually glad this question did come up, because I like to address the rumor mill that kind of with the inquiries. And that's what it is people, you know, hard pull on your credit creates an inquiry. If you're out for a mortgage, there is a 14-day shopping window, okay, where the bureaus will see that you're doing your due diligence as a consumer, which means they're not going to ding you for extra inquiries. And in general, you know, and that extends to 30 days. They might start looking at it if you're getting pulled a bunch, but for the most part, they'll see it's a mortgage company. They're not going to drop your score. A lot of times people will be like, well, I'm hesitant. I don't want you to re-pull my credit. I don't want you to pull it. I don't want it to go down anymore. The reality of the situation is, yes, inquiries do hurt, but they hurt when you have a bunch of pulls from a bunch of different credit types of credit, different creditors, and you got, you know, at the bottom of the credit report, they have them stacked up. Then, yeah, you know, extra pulls are going to hurt. If it's one off, you don't get it pulled a lot. It's a mortgage company doing it. It's really not going to affect your score really. And I promise it's not going to be what breaks the camel's back. Okay. It is much more valuable to let me get in there, especially if the other mortgage companies hadn't talked to you, hadn't made a plan with you to get your scores up or anything like that, or explain to you why. It's much more valuable to let me get in there, look at it and explain it to you. And let's talk about it, make a plan. Then the maybe 3 to 5 points it might ding you. And that's generous. It's really the one-off mortgage pool is not what's going to drive your credit score down. Okay. So, you know, like I said, getting it pulled a bunch, maybe not. But if it's, you talk to one or two other lenders, or you're in that period of time and they haven't explained much to you, it's worth it to really analyze it.
That's amazing information. I love that. So that to me was the biggest takeaway from this. You're not just the guy that says, hey, you're either qualified or you're not. You lend money directly. You can help people understand their credit situation and rise it to where it needs to be. You can help people possibly get down payment assistance. And you can pretty much guide somebody into the right mortgage program for them. So, you get a full service. Guys, this is Jonathan Peacock. And can you at least, again, tell us your company?
Guild Mortgage Company. We have a couple different offices in Columbia and in South Carolina. We are the ones downtown off Forest Drive. That's us. Feel free to give me a call. Again, I'll drop my information in the chat. Text me, I'll put my cell, call, email me, and I'll put a link to my online web application too. If you're ever, if you're thinking about it and you're finally like, okay, I want to do it, get online. I'll see it. I'll give you a call in the morning.
That's perfect, guys. So this is Jonathan Peacock. He can help you with your mortgages. If you contact me as well, I can send you a list of available homes and we can help you find the home that you love as well. So let's get into home. American Dreamers. We all know that we want a home, and Jonathan's here to help you. He's giving great information, things that people did not know. If you have a credit of 540, he may be able to assist you in getting to where you need to be, or maybe even a loan. You just don't know the situation. Reach out and talk to him, because he doesn't say yes or no. He helps you understand what you need to do. Jonathan, thank you so much. This is fun.
Yeah, it was.
I'm really clunky at these Zooms and lives, and I'm not that good. I'll get better. But I definitely want to invite you back again to talk to the important.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Other mortgage programs and even what home sellers need to be aware of. So thanks so much for your info. I'm going to drop it in the Facebook, chat as well, or whatever it is. We run Facebook Live, and I'll probably put it on YouTube as well, just to let you know. I'm going to be blasting it.
Awesome.
Thank you, Jonathan, for taking me.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys. That was Jonathan. I hope that came out great. I will put his information on the Facebook chat information, the comments. And I think I just lost you guys. So if I didn't, you'll get the information soon. This is great info, and I'll talk to you soon. Nikki Cain, Realtor Extraordinaire, of course, helping you get into a home.